Hey everyone, it's Wasabi. So Logitech launched the Pro X2 Superstrike and I've actually had this mouse since February, but I wanted to spend more time with it because this is one of those new experiences that could genuinely become normal in the next couple of years. So this video is gonna be only about HITS, which is Logitech's Haptic Inductive Trigger System. And if you want to see the full mouse review, that's either coming up soon or it should already be on my channel. Now first, let me manage some expectations here real quick. Do not buy this thinking it will instantly make you a better gamer. But if you adapt well to it, I do think that it can give you a real speed and control advantage, kind of like Hall effect keyboards once you get a hang of it. Now Logitech calls this HITS for short, HITS, which stands for Haptic Inductive Trigger System. With HITS, click registration is inductive sensor based, not switch based. So you're not relying on traditional micro switch mechanism to register a click. And a quick clarification, people will compare this to Hall effect keyboards, and that is fair because the features are very much similar, but the sensing method is a little different. This is inductive sensing, not magnetic Hall sensing. So conceptually, a coil generates an electromagnetic field. Movement of the conductive material changes inductance, and so the sensor reads that change continuously. Then Logitech added haptics because as gamers we still need that physical confirmation. So when you press past the actuation point, you feel a haptic click. And as you return past the reset point, you can feel the feedback again. And that is why it doesn't feel like you're pressing down on air, but it also won't feel exactly like a normal mechanical switch click. Okay, if you've used a good haptic trackpad or haptic feedback on the phone, or even Logitech's MX Master style haptics, so the vibe is very similar. The click feel is simulated, but in this case, the button still has travel. Alright, so for the left and the right click, you get 3 settings: actuation points, rapid trigger, and click haptics. And you can tune all 3 settings individually for both buttons. Now first, the actuation point, you have 10 levels. And so this lets you set how early or how late the click registers in the button travel. And here's what's interesting: when you set it later or higher actuation, it can feel more deliberate. Like you gotta put in more commitment to the click. And when you set it lower, it can feel feather light and quick. This is more about control than just speed. So for example, if you misclick the right mouse button a lot, you can set it higher. If you have heavy fingers on both mouse buttons, you can set both higher as well. Or if you want feather-like clicks for both buttons, you can set it to the most sensitive, or anywhere in between. And yes, this is different from debounce. Debounce filters timing, whereas this changes the registration depth. So for this, just imagine like a tiny guy under the mouse buttons moving the switch position up and down. The next thing is rapid trigger, and you get 5 different levels. This controls how far the button needs to return before it can click again. So if you spam click in certain games, this changes your rhythm a lot. It takes a lot less effort, you get cleaner repeats and more consistent and rapid inputs. If you play click heavy games like League or Diablo, I can see this helping reduce strain a lot. But for me as an FPS player, it makes stuff like getting off and back onto ADS feel snappier because the reset is faster. Or you know, if you want to spam click with a pistol without shaking your mouse around too much in the heat of the moment, something like this does help with that. And the last setting is click haptics. This controls how strong the click confirmation feels. So lower haptics, you feel a subtle, gentle bump, and higher haptics, you feel crisp, heavy, and intentional. I can feel a lot of feedback under my finger with the highest setting. You can even set it to 0, but it basically removes the stimulated click confirmation, and it feels very weird. It's like you're pressing without any event, so I wouldn't use it, but the option is there. Also, at higher levels, it can become slightly audible, and yes, it can affect battery more, but it's still nowhere close to the sharp loudness of mechanical switches. So in practice, HITS is a very silent click experience. Now once you got your ideal settings, you obviously want to save it to your onboard memory so that you don't have to keep your software open all the time. Now here's the important thing: it won't always automatically push your current settings onto the onboard memory unless you tell it to. So what you do is go to settings, go to onboard mode, switch this on, click on these 3 dots, import G-Hub profile, select your profile, and it would import onto the onboard memory. And to make sure that all the settings are there, you just click here and show profile details. You should see all your haptic settings right here. So now you can close the software and never have to open it up again, and you will always have these settings every time you switch on the mouse. Oh yeah, and for me, I just leave this off, and every time I switch on my PC without launching G-Hub, the mouse just loads the onboard memory. With this tech, Logitech claims up to 30 milliseconds lower click latency. If you are already on a modern flagship mouse, don't expect this to work magic, but what I will say is that with hits set up right, the clicks can legitimately feel faster and more responsive, not because your aim gets better, but because the click registers exactly where you want it to. And the reset can be extremely short as well. So what will you actually notice? Well, first, a faster feeling click depending on your actuation setting. If your actuation is earlier, there's less movement between your resting press and the registration point, so in-game actions can feel more immediate. The second thing is that spam clicking can feel easier and more consistent. Rapid trigger reset changes the rhythm and reduces how much return travel you need. The third thing you'll notice is that the click feel is clean and controlled. Haptics make the click confirmation feel consistent, and you're not relying on the mechanical snap that can vary slightly from unit to unit or over time. And the last thing is that actuation tuning is a real quality of life upgrade. For once, you can tune something that's extremely personal, and that is click behavior of individual buttons based on your finger pressure and the games that you play. So that to me is a real win. Anyway, it's only a matter of time before other brands do their own version of this tech, and then we'll have 20 different names for the same bloody concept, just like SOCD. But I am positive with mouse using this tech, not because everyone needs it, but because it gives people meaningful variety and new ways to tune their gear that traditional switches just can't. It's kind of like going from phones with number pads to touchscreens. You know, once it becomes normal, the old thing starts to feel old. And I'll be real, I love Huano Blue Shell Pink Dot mechanical switches, and I also love running out of breath every time I see it in reviews. But for an esports mouse, I can't help but feel that, like, for me, this has made mechanical clicks feel a little old-fashioned. And the biggest question now is the long-term reliability. Does it still feel the same months later, a year later? If it falls off my desk, does anything get affected? So yeah, there are a lot of things to consider and a lot to look forward to. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to support my channel, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.